Okay, I can't even stand to watch this propaganda, on any of these news channels. It's just irrelevant. And if you don't know by now that it's propaganda, you're a moron. So I am watching this, though, just to document it. So today was what I call Triple Kraken Day. Huge day for Trump. Lynn Wood and Sidney Powell dropped two huge lawsuits, one in Michigan, one in Georgia, where they directly list as the head defendants the governors and the secretaries of state. They've got tons of evidence. This is what they've been talking about for a week or so. Then the Supreme Court ruled that Governor Cuomo's shutdown of churches while keeping liquor stores open is unconstitutional, and that's relevant to all the governors. And there was something else, another legal thing. So, and then Michael Flynn was pardoned, okay? So, I wanted to see if they covered it. They don't cover Michael Flynn at all. They don't cover the lawsuits at all. They don't cover yesterday's big hearing in Pennsylvania amongst the Electoral College of Pennsylvania, where there was huge amount of fraud uncovered. So major momentum, and this is exactly the same thing you would see in Chinese or North Korean or Russian state media. These are puppets of the Democrats and the Marxists trying to take over, stage a coup. These are not journalists. They are absolute political operatives. So let's watch this.
Breaking news: President Trump taking questions. The president facing reporters for the first time since the election, saying he can't say if he can see.
Okay, by the way, that's false. He's been before reporters many times.
But if electors finalize Biden's win, he would leave the White House. Plus,
okay. Finalize Biden's win. 100% propaganda. Not a single state, actually a couple of states are certified. 48 or so states haven't even certified it yet. This is completely unofficial. They know that there's precedent after precedent, going back to Al Gore and then before that several times, where this will not be Joe Biden's win. This is 100% lie. Joe Biden's win.
President-elect Biden stressing safety.
He's not the fucking president-elect, you propagandist.
While Trump encourages Americans to gather this holiday. New vaccine questions the president tonight.
Okay, now this is the worst of it. They're bashing the vaccines for pure political reasons because it makes Trump look good and it would take away their power. Their power is to keep you in control if you're a Republican and shut down your Republican small business, and it's a bunch of tyrants. So the last thing they want is the vaccine. So they are shitting on a vaccine, and so on one hand they're saying COVID is deadly, which it's not. For some people it is, but overall it's a virus less deadly than the regular flu. But they're trying to hype it as like the Spanish flu on one hand, and then on the other hand, you got to have perfect safety for the vaccines. This is criminal. This is where it goes beyond First Amendment speech. This is criminal.
The improbable claim a vaccine could be distributed next week. The FDA saying that's not true. While one of the top vaccine candidates.
Okay, the FDA works for Trump. Okay, if he wants it distributed, he'll get it distributed, you propagandist.
Will likely run additional tests amid concerns. Frontline workers saving lives amid astonishing new predictions about how many more might be lost before Christmas, with fears that travelers.
Stay home and don't celebrate Christmas or else. These are hypothetical predictions, propaganda. What they don't show you in any of these stories is real dead people. The closest they come is claiming that hospitals are overloaded, and that's all bullshit. Okay, you're not seeing people dropping dead from COVID, and the numbers out there are 100% bogus. They've been proven inaccurate. So if anyone dies for any reason, they're being labeled as COVID because they get paid. It's a fraud. You're not seeing people like a real pandemic of Ebola or the Spanish flu, and you're not seeing people literally drop dead all over the place. This is not a fucking deadly pandemic.
And the crisis, plus reaction to a Supreme Court decision involving how many can worship together.
Okay, that's the only thing they're going to cover is that Supreme Court decision. They're going to ignore the big hearing that Trump had yesterday before the Pennsylvania. Not a whisper of these huge lawsuits filed against Georgia and Michigan.
To the rescue, the military's new mission stepping up to help hospitals out of rooms and resources in the heartland.
All right, when you cover that story, it's going to be vague. They're not going to show any real hospitals. It's just innuendo. There's not some overflowing of hospitals from genuine COVID. And if anyone is on a ventilator, there's a good chance they've been misdiagnosed with a bullshit PCR test, and they're being put on ventilator for money reasons, and they're being murdered by a ventilator. This is just criminal.
Effort to feed families this Thanksgiving, long lines across the country, and a shocking new report.
Yeah, that's because of the lockdowns that you are causing, you propagandists. And they're trying to somehow now say all of this hardship is Trump. That's been the plan all along. Let's make the country miserable, and so it can be innuendo implied that it's Trump's fault because he's mismanaging a virus or something. You're causing it, you criminal scum.
Without enough to eat. Black Friday's best deals in a shopping season like no other. The one simple thing you can do.
All right, this is hilarious. Black Friday is for the big establishment Jeff Bezos and Walmart's, okay? They're perfectly fine with you going to Jeff Bezos' big box stores while you kill every small business. That's because it's your grand plan. The people behind this whole Machiavellian strategy are the corporate globalists and the hedge funds.
Best Buys online. And thanking healthcare heroes.
Oh, the healthcare heroes. Oh, wow.
Bringing smiles this holiday.
All right, now let's watch the real news. I mean, their actual...
Good evening and happy Thanksgiving. I'm Kate.
Oh, yeah, after all that propaganda, happy Thanksgiving.
Oh, and for Lester tonight, and we begin with late-breaking news. President Trump continuing to insist he won the election, taking questions for the first time since the election and saying he is not ready to concede. But the president also pledging to leave the White House if, as expected, the Electoral College...
As expected? That's fucking editorialism at best. It's propaganda. As expected, my ass.
...formalizes Joe Biden's victory, a constitutional requirement.
Now what happens? In a couple of weeks when Trump's reelected and it's all, what is going to happen to this woman? Will she be prosecuted? Will she lose her job? No. You'll see this stupid propagandist smiling next year as if nothing happened. Shameless chutzpah. There will be no accountability, except people have already tuned off of Fox. Certain networks are getting punished, okay? And I think CNN's going to collapse after this and so forth. But these big broadcast things that are owned by parent companies like Comcast and Disney, these motherfuckers are not going to see an ounce of accountability.
Let's get right to Kelly O'Donnell.
Oh, let's get to Kelly O'Donnell.
Tonight, defiant and denying his own defeat, President Trump.
Denying his own defeat. Show me how even if you don't believe an ounce of the election fraud, it's a fact that none of the states except for a few have certified anything. But they just said a falsehood. He hasn't been defeated.
Trump answered questions for the first time since Election Day.
I don't know what is going to happen. I know one thing, Joe Biden did not get 80 million votes.
Asked if he will concede more obstruction.
It's going to be a very hard thing to concede because we know there was massive fraud.
Pushed about whether he would vacate the White House January 20th if the electors finalize the Biden victory.
Certainly I will. Certainly I will.
The president's legal team has not shown fraud or irregularities.
Bullshit! There's an affidavit after affidavit in these lawsuits being filed. That's fact. That's the best evidence you can possibly get is first-hand witness, sworn testimony affidavit. And then you also have the electronic data and the statistical data. That is a flat-out fucking lie.
That would overturn the results, but the president vented.
And the whole world is watching. And the whole world is laughing at our electoral process.
President Trump angry and lashing out minutes after he thanked overseas troops for their service. He criticized Joe Biden for forming a cabinet and would not publicly commit to attending the inauguration. Earlier today, Joe Biden followed a more traditional playbook. In a video message from Delaware, President-elect Joe Biden...
Now this is huge propaganda too. In fact, today he tried to do an unscripted speech, Joe Biden did, and it was absolutely incoherent gibberish. P-S-A-L-M, psalm, is a biblical thing. He kept calling it palm, like a palm tree. It was baffling. This guy is
urged a small stay-at-home Thanksgiving because of COVID.
It's a personal sacrifice.
Look, this is a scripted teleprompter thing, and they take like 3 seconds of it to make them look coherent.
Our families can make and should make to save somebody else's life. But it's also a shared sacrifice for the whole.
Yeah, really? How's it shared? Are you and these other governors really wearing masks, or are you going out to the French Laundry and violating everything? You're not sharing shit.
The president, who spent much of his holiday on the golf course,
Oh my God, on the golf course! Oh!
was also taking more swings on Twitter, again to impugn Joe Biden's victory and undermine election integrity. The president's anger boiled over at reporters.
Don't talk to. I'm the president of the United States. Don't ever talk to the president that way.
And this is propaganda. They're editing out what the person said. It was probably something extremely inappropriate, and they leave it out.
And President Trump says he will go back on the campaign trail, committing to go to Georgia, where he will work on behalf of 2 Senate Republicans who are in runoff races that will determine the control of the Senate. The president also would not comment on whether he would run again himself in 2024, insisting that the 2020 race is not yet over, claiming he won with only hints of recognition that he knows his time here at the White House is nearly over.
100% editorial propaganda. This is not like Russia. This is exactly the same thing that they're doing in state-controlled media in Russia and China and North Korea. This is a sad, sad, scary time of the nation. This is crazy.
Kelly O'Donnell at the White House for us. Kelly, thank you. The president tonight also made a dramatic claim about the time.
Oh, dramatic claim, because he's been wrong all along. Every time he says something fast about a vaccine, he's just been wrong. Not.
A COVID vaccine, which was immediately contradicted by the agencies in charge. It comes as a new prediction.
Oh, yeah, like the deep state hasn't battled him before. Okay.
As the U.S. death.
And they seem happy. They seem happy that the vaccine is fucking up, at least according to them. They are rooting for the vaccine to fail, you fucking criminal pieces of shit.
Toll could climb by another 60,000 in just a month.
Bullshit, could climb. This is just random. You're pulling it out of thin air from some bogus model. Bullshit.
Costello's in Washington tonight. Tom, what are you learning?
Yeah, Kate, the president said late today that vaccine distribution could begin next week. But both the FDA and the CDC say nothing's changed on the timeline. The FDA advisory committee doesn't even meet until December 10th. Distribution could begin after that. But COVID has dominated Thanksgiving 2020. 4, 3, 2, 1.
By the way, they're going to distribute it ahead of the meeting. I hate to break it to you, so Trump is probably right. You're probably going to distribute it next week.
Made all the more poignant by a raging pandemic.
Raging pandemic. Really? Are people, has anyone actually seen anybody die recently? Okay, yeah, there's probably been a few, and of those, they were mishandled because they weren't even given the drugs that would have saved their lives, and of those, they were probably killed by a ventilator, and blah, blah, blah. But that's a very small number compared to people who die. There's millions of people dying this year from all sorts of stuff. This isn't a pandemic like the Spanish flu or anything else.
Macy's parade reflected the country's appreciation for countless frontline heroes, many of whom remain on the job today, warning that this Thanksgiving could create multiple super spreader events.
Super spreaders! Okay, I've seen enough. This is enough. Stop this shit.